Hello and welcome back to the Go Media Podcast. This series is dedicated to tips, tricks, and tales of the business-minded artist and designer. It's our way of letting you inside of the Go Media studio here in Cleveland to see how we work and hear our story. My name is Bryan Garvin, and I'm a front-end developer here at Go Media, as well as a member of the team that is organizing this year's Weapons of Mass Creation Fest. We'll be joined by Heather Sakai in a little bit to go over some of the news and notes about this year. Quite a few new things have come out since the last time that we talked. Also on today's episode, we begin sharing some profiles of the people that make up Go Media. Today, we'll hear from Carly, who is part of the design team. We're also going to sit down with Bill Beachy to pick up on that conversation that I alluded to last time about billable versus non-billable hours. It's part of a much bigger change here at Go Media, one that we made after seeing the results of collecting metrics for the last year. This episode will be a little bit different than what we've done before. You're going to hear some more background noise, a little bit longer breaks in between conversations, and really not every recording was done the same day or even at the same location. You know, I made myself like a little mobile recording station with a laptop and some mics, and I walked around the office setting up at people's desks. It was really neat, at least from my perspective, and it definitely made it nice not to have to set up in the conference room. But we're going to continue to learn as we go. You know, I really got inspired by Mark Brickey from the Adventures in Design podcast, who walked around the floor at this year's Flat Stock. I think he had a mobile recorder, I think a Tascam, and some mics, and it was really cool to see how he did it. I think what he's doing is obviously a little bit more professional, a little bit more in depth than what we need to do, at least for our in office recordings, but it might be something we want to look forward to, especially for this year's WMC Fest, which Go Media Podcast is going to be a part of it. I don't think we're going to do the full live show like we did last year, but instead we're just going to kind of record during breaks, and just kind of get our perspective as the event is going on. It should be really neat. All right, before we begin, do a quick sponsorship update. WMCFest.com. All the information is there as far as what we've released so far, but the big push right now is we need to fund this. So there's a lot of awesome businesses that have worked with us, both design studios or print shops, paper manufacturers, all kinds of awesome companies that have partnered up with us over the last few years to make sure that WMC Fest happened, and we need your guys' help once again. So go to WMCFest.com. There's a sponsorship PDF there about what we're trying to do this year, what kind of financial backing that we need to accomplish everything that we're looking for. So, and there's definitely great opportunities there for anyone willing to help. We're not necessarily looking for every single sponsor to take those top tiers. There's a lot of other cool stuff that we're trying to accomplish, like free coffee or funding the green room so that all the speakers and panelists and workshop leaders can snack throughout the day and be refreshed and have an opportunity to sit down and relax. So there's definitely a lot of opportunities there. So check it out, WMCFest.com. This is funded by you, by the businesses that make this community run. So get involved, and looking forward to talking with you. All right, so here's the real brief of what Go Media has been up to. Again, a lot of stuff going on. We're just going to highlight today of what's been happening. First and foremost, GoMedia.com. Like we said last episode, the new site went up. We're constantly making changes, trying to make improvements. It's been a slow rollout. The thing is that when you're developing and designing sites for clients, it's hard to really devote the time to put up your own site. These things just take much longer than you normally would devote, just because you're not spending the same amount of time, or at least the same amount of consistent time that that we're giving the clients. So it's been a bit of a slow rollout. We've been dedicating maybe a day here, a day there. A few different members of the team that have been doing it. So, but yeah, we needed to make some changes and help bring some more of the work that we've done and the work that we're looking to do more, up to the forefront. Definitely check it out. We would love to hear what you guys think. You can send that feedback, over Twitter at @go_media, or, leave comments anywhere this episode is posted. But yeah, reach out. Let us know. Let us know if you checked it out, if you started clicking through and seeing the different changes that we've made. It'd be really, really cool. Otherwise, outside of that internal project, Arsenal has been kicking ass as of late. Heather Sakai, who's the product manager over there, has been putting out new products pretty much on a really, really consistent basis, almost weekly. So yeah, definitely check out all the new stuff that's been added to that, specifically the Wings Vector Pack. It was just released earlier this month. Really cool stuff. Jordan Wong contributed a lot to it, and yeah, we're really excited to see what you guys think. It's been a while since we've done a Wings pack, but overall the initial feedback that we've gotten so far has been really fantastic. But yeah, outside of internal projects, we are working on client projects, and the sales team has just been killing it this month. So many new partnerships and, projects that are coming through the pipeline. It's going to get really busy soon, for all of us, and, cannot wait. So yeah, definite shout outs to, Lauren and Bill over on the sales team. You guys did an awesome job. Let's keep that up. All right. So that's the brief, at least, of what we've been doing here at Go Media. We're always working on some awesome client projects, which hopefully we'll be talking about here on the podcast in the near future. That was one thing that I really wanted to push hard this season, was case studies, to tell you the type of projects that we work on. That's one thing that we really haven't shared a whole lot here on the Go Media podcast. But, as you guys know, there's this constant juggle here at Go Media. We do a lot of different non-client specific projects, like On the Map, the Arsenal, even WMC Fest. They're all at the end of the day passion projects that allow us to, expend some creative energy doing something really cool. But, this year we really wanted to rein things in and make sure that we were putting forth the time to put, Go Media as a company in a position to be successful as we really push our services to the forefront. One of the ways we worked towards that was setting up metrics to look at how we were using our time at the office, and based on that data, what we could do to, be better with our time. So, I sat down with Bill to talk about what we've learned from these metrics and how we're going to be moving forward.
So, I've believed in metrics for a really long time and been talking about them and been recording them, but I'll admit there are, sort of days and weeks and years that go by that I'm doing this work, recording these metrics, and I'm sort of like, okay, what's all this effort worth? And I've always felt like we've gotten little bits of information out of it, and every year we sort of will go to each little department and say, look at your numbers. Do you feel like you're learning anything at all? If you're not, let's get rid of it. Let's not spend too much time on it. And I've often also always had this idea that, I think I read this in one of Dave Thomas's book, Dave's Way. It's about his building of the Wendy's empire. He's like, your restaurant boils down to 3 metrics, basically. So I've always had this thought in my brain, like, a company should be boiled down into a few simple metrics. And if we can figure that out, then it'll just be an easy way to run the company. So,
yeah. And as far as metrics go, I mean, it wasn't always just numbers. It was also as far
qualitative.
As like what we were collecting as developers was also like, how's our mood?
Right.
Like, how were we feeling about the projects that we were working on, that sort of thing. So,
right. Are you stressed out? Are you overloaded? But then in the past, so early last year, was the first time that I saw a metric number that we had been recording for a long time, but had just been sort of like flat, had been the same for a long time. I suddenly saw it dipping down to a low place where I was like forced into action. And that was our leads that we were getting in. And it was like, wow, okay, our leads are cut in half from what we're used to. So this is just really bad and we need to take action on this. And, all the metrics in the past, it just felt kind of good knowing that we were recording something. But to actually have something spark a thought in my brain, wait, I need to do something, was, the first time that, these metrics had forced me into action, basically. And if we hadn't been recording the history, if I didn't know that, X number of leads is what we normally get, then I don't know that I would have recognized that leads were down. I think I talk about this in my book a little bit. When you're slow, you just kind of feel bad. You're like, nobody, I'm not busy.
Right.
Nobody wants my attention.
No one's talking to me.
Right. No one's talking to me. But because we actually have numbers and because I could see that our leads were half of what they had been for the previous 2 or 3 years, we're down for like 3 straight months. I'm like, okay, we got to do something. And then we spent a good 6 months really working on our marketing, working on our SEO, getting traffic up. And, this past February, we were probably over double our normal leads not from our low, but from our average from the previous years. And it's been sustained now for many months. And it's like, wow, gosh, that was a great metric to recognize, and figure we needed to change something and then do something and then actually have the metrics there to prove to ourselves that we're actually getting good results. And of course, there's the positive feeling of, holy crap, we're slammed. We've got so many leads. We've got to try and keep up with them. So that was one of two things. And then the other metric that sort of came to the forefront in the last maybe 6-7 months was capacity usage. So we had always been logging our employees' time, how many hours they were logging in a given day. We were even logging how many billable hours they had versus non-billable hours. But we had never quite looked at the metrics in how many hours do they have available in a day to bill a customer in order to create cash flow? And then how many of those hours of capacity that they have did they actually use? And it's weird because all the data was there. I mean, I could have sit there and done the math myself. But as soon as I just added that extra little line in the Excel spreadsheet where I put the number in, what the percentage usage was, like what was that number, all of a sudden that metric sort of came to life. And it was also a bit of me learning.
Right.
It's kind of funny, you're in business, running a service-based business for 15 years, and, you're still learning even stuff that is like standard, every other service business across the, I kind of heard a thing or two from some other service firm people that I'm friends with, and it kind of piqued my curiosity about this particular metric and that maybe I should be paying a little more attention to it. And so, of course, then we implemented it, and then I actually backtracked about 1.5 years to see where everyone's numbers were at. And that was the sort of aha moment when I backtracked for an entire year. And not to throw my own dev team under the bus here, but, our capacity usage for the dev team was horrific. It was like when I looked at the cash flow that was being produced by that team, it was not even enough to cover all of their payrolls.
Right.
And so it's not like they weren't busy. It's not like they were being lazy. They were always really slammed. But it was a question of us recognizing that our company doesn't work if our most expensive production team is spending so little time on what is actual cash flow generating work. That however much time we were spending on the internal stuff, building amazing systems, which we absolutely did do, And there's other factors. I mean, look, you can't take any of these numbers completely just like without analyzing them. One thing that we recognized was from 2012 to 2013, I think, we launched the same number of websites, but the amount of hours that went into launching those websites went down dramatically. And that's a direct result of the internal work they're doing, optimizing their systems. But we also are now selling the websites cheaper because we can deploy them faster, which means we need to figure out how to sell more of them. It's a big, complex web. And while there was much fear across the entire company when I started focusing on this metric that everyone's like, whoa, you can't, there's this, I've got this disclaimer and I've got this rationale and I'm afraid that I'm going to get in big trouble. And
we definitely
looking
have our
at this
reasons.
number. Yeah. Everyone was very worried. And I just kept trying to tell people like, look, I'm not going to be nitpicking a point here or a point there in your percentages. We need to, as a company, understand what's happening with our time and with our cash flow and with the sort of work that we're getting on everyone's plate and all that sort of stuff. And this metric is a tool for us to help understand that. And certainly with capacity usage, and I've said this over and over and over again, we can't get capacity usage numbers up just by yelling at the production teams. There's a whole chain of things that have to happen in order to get them work that they can actually log as billable.
Sure.
Starts with marketing, getting leads in, selling those, having the project manager make sure they've got them all queued up and understand what can be started and what can't be started. And then finally it gets into their hands, and then they need to work on it. And then it's follow-up by the project manager to make sure feedback's getting brought back in on time. I mean, it's a whole dance. It's a whole company endeavor in order to make that metric work.
Yeah, and let's talk about, like, just as far as, like, the reasons go, because, like, I had my reasons why I wasn't doing billable work. But, Go Media, as far as from my perspective, like, we do things like real different compared to a lot of other design firms in Cleveland and around the States as far as how much we're trying to accomplish. Like, it isn't just a design firm that is selling websites to clients. We also have the Arsenal, which is selling vector packs straight to other designers. You've also got Mock Up Everything, which is a service for designers to be able to mock up their stuff. So we have like all of these internal projects, mini companies that even though those companies or those projects are making money for themselves, the metrics don't necessarily show that perfectly, because like I'm doing this work for those internal projects, and while they may or may not be making money based on that work, it still shows up for me as non-billable.
True. If the absolute correct way to do this would be that we could break out some other money-making endeavor, say like the Arsenal, and say that any project generated by the Arsenal and then assigned to someone internally, that could be considered a billable project, because that's work that we would have to, if not for having a development team on staff, we would have to be outsourcing that work to get it done for the Arsenal. So, technically, yes, that is billable. A few things about that, I know that when a production person works for 10 hours on a client-based project, I know about exactly how much money in return I'm going to get for that work. For even things like the Arsenal, upgrading some checkout experience thing or fixing some back-end thing or enhancing the website, we may or may not see a return on that. There's a lot of variables that go into how the Arsenal actually, makes its money. Similar with WMC Fest and all these other things.
The podcast.
Mock Up Everything, Shirt Mock Up. These are all things that, yes, we need to make worthwhile investments in them, and we need to continue to invest more when we see we're getting good returns. The Arsenal is a very interesting thing because the market space has changed so much in the last 5 years. We've gone from a experience where we could develop a product and release it and know we're going to make, thousands of dollars, to spending weeks, months, years on products or upgrades, releasing them and seeing absolutely no shift in our sales for those things.
Right.
So because I think that we were so out of whack in terms of balance, billable versus, internal stuff, that I wanted to walk before we run sort of a thing. I didn't want to start factoring it. Like I'm cheating the metrics in the direction I'm trying to push the company, right? If I loaded these guys up with a bunch of qualifiers on their metrics like, hey, yeah, you've got a little bit of side work you have to do once in a while, so let's pull what I expect out of you down, and yeah, let's go ahead and include anything you do for the arsenal as billable, and pretty soon you're going to be able to sort of tweak those numbers into a place where your percentage billable doesn't feel that uncomfortable, and
sure,
maybe you're not as worried about it. And I needed to hit this thing and get it in alignment, at least close to alignment, and then at that point we can sort of fine tune. And quite frankly, as long as, and the one thing that I really came back to is I don't even mind if we miss our numbers, so long as we all recognize that we're missing our numbers and that we're out of alignment and that there's strong communication going on. That is invariable what I feel was missing, because it's not bad. There's nothing inherently, Bryan didn't do anything wrong if he didn't hit enough billable hours. But there's something seriously wrong if Bryan's not hitting his numbers and he doesn't know it, and Renee doesn't know it, and the sales team doesn't know it. So long as the sales team knows it, and I know it, and Renee knows it, our project manager, and Bryan all know it, then guess what? Then we can do something about it. But for years, in my mind, Bryan was busy with billable stuff all the time. And he was, in my mind, he was probably hitting like 70-80% capacity. Like
I was always busy.
That's what I thought was happening. Bryan was always busy, right? Like it's not until you actually run the numbers and you're like, holy crap, we're not even near that number,
So let's talk about numbers. Like where were we? Where do we need to be, and where are we now?
Mm-hmm. So just based on the other, this is company to company, and GoMedia's got a lot of weird stuff going on. We got various revenue streams and all that sort of good stuff. But I would say that reasonably, to sort of pay our bills, cover payroll, and be doing well, if my entire production team is hitting about 5 billable hours a day, we're kind of okay where we're at. Okay. Where were we at? We were closer to like 2.5 hours a day, maybe, for the dev team. The last couple of years, the designers have been pretty slammed. They've been closer to that 5-hour-a-day mark. So, but still, the dev team's half our production team. So that was, a big chunk of our potential cash flows. And then, where we want to go, there's a little bit of well, for one, we're so new into this place where we've got good sales going and we've got good internal workload going, and we're starting to pay attention and fix this. I haven't quite seen the net results of how this is going to impact us financially. If we stay in this place for a little while, am I going to start seeing consistent positive cash flow to the place where I can start giving some more raises? I do know that, and this is really, we may or may not do this, but if the staff wants to make really nice wages, right? Like if we want to be able to bump everyone's salaries up nicely and at least get up to standards established by AIGA, or, what would be considered industry standards, or even eclipse those, at that point, then it becomes a question of how hard does everyone want to work? I've been out talking with other service-based companies, and there's a definite, correlation between the firms where people are expected to work insane hours and how much those employees are being paid. You can go make a really good salary at a big company that puts such strong demands on you that you're working 10 to 12-hour days every single day, and you don't waste any time. You don't go hang around the water cooler and chat with your coworkers. You got to get your billable hours in. So, do you want to have that kind of working life and drive a Range Rover, or do you want to, work a normal day, have a nice balance, not be too stressed out, go home and spend time with your family and your pets and your children, and, I definitely think Go Media is more on the balance your life kind of a firm.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely how it's been for sure.
Yeah. But, I am curious to see how these changes we've made recently are going to impact us financially over the next, 3 to 6 months. It'll be very, very interesting to me to see how this all plays out. Fun and interesting in an exciting way.
All right. So as far as like a business that hasn't done these metrics before, hasn't tracked any particular goal, is there a certain metric that they should focus in on that you would at least recommend, or maybe a combination of a few? Or
sure. I think that you need to keep in the back of your brain that most businesses can be boiled down to a few key metrics, that you shouldn't be spending days and days on this stuff. If you are doing this, you either have got too complicated of metrics or you've created too difficult of a system to collect some information. So, I think that most of the staff spends about a half day once a month sort of pulling their numbers together and then compiling them. And then I'm going to spend a half day to a day just sort of pulling all that data together and reviewing it and making sure everything is sort of in line. Now, certainly, some of these metrics come from maybe your accounting software. Obviously, a service firm has to track their billable hours, so there's a daily requirement of work to just log your time that you're doing work. So there's a variety of little bits and pieces of work that have to go on, but those are generally most of that stuff's generally happening anyways. So one way that I try and think of it is think of every stage of your business model. So hypothetically, using Go Media as an example, we do marketing. The marketing generates leads. The sales team then chases down and tries to land those leads. Once those leads are done, they're handed off to a project manager. Project manager has to do scheduling and get stuff into people's queues. Then the production team actually does the work. Final files are handed over. Maybe the sales team follows up. So if we think of that entire process stage by stage and think, what is one metric we can pull out of each step of the process that we could track fairly easily and that will help give us a gauge of how successful we're being with everything, then this could be a good chain of metrics to use as a dashboard. So from the marketing, you could potentially look at how much traffic is coming to your website, or how many phone calls you're getting, or how many people are filling out a quote request form. So I talked about it earlier. For us, leads is certainly the metric we like to look at, and an easy one for us to count is how many times people fill out our quote request form on our website. From in terms of a sales team success rate, you could look at close rate. What percentage of those leads is the sales team able to actually chase down and close and get a check on? The project manager, it's kind of tough. They're integral in making sure that all of the. One way you could sort of get a metric on project manager is customer feedback. Really, the project manager is at the hub of making sure that the customer is satisfied. Certainly, in terms of making sure that they're being kept up to speed with what's going on. Meetings are being well scheduled. Feedback is done in a timely manner. The staff is actually delivering proofs on their deadlines. These are all components of your project manager. So, their metric might really come at the end when you do a little survey and say, how do we do? If they're like, wow, the process was so smooth and so organized, that's probably a component of a good project manager. When it comes to the actual production team, we talked about capacity usage.
Right.
How much time are they getting logged in a month, and I've really stressed our project manager that is a metric that is really on them too. Coordinating schedules, particularly when clients so frequently disappear or get off schedule and projects get paused. How do you make sure that other project that was not scheduled for 3 days out is suddenly brought up and fills in that gap, you know.
Yeah, and they need it like yesterday.
Right. So so then from the production team, capacity usage is obviously a good one, just to sort of understand cash flow, and then also, you know, client experience, right? Do they like the designs? Does the site function properly? You know, this is another component of feedback. And then certainly then back into the hands of sales once a project is done, you know, tracking a metric on what percentage of customers return for more work is something that could start to be tracked. And we're not doing all of these right now. And then, of course, some of our little micro businesses have their own sort of metrics. We look at, for our zine, we look at how many visitors we're having to our sites and to our, you know, to our blog. WMC Fest attendance is a good one. That's a pretty simple, straightforward metric.
Ticket sales,
attendance, and cash at the end of the day is, you know, good metrics to have.
Yeah. So I mean, like overall, so you know how it sounds is like there's not one golden metric out there that is going to be, you know, universal, not just department to department, but also business to business. I mean, we're all doing things a little bit differently. So, and then at the same time, you know, one thing that it seems like we've started to use as far as the capacity usage side goes is it also allows us to really estimate how long it's going to take to do something, if we can really feasibly be able to accomplish a certain task based on the schedule that we have already planned out. Mm-hmm. So, okay.
Yeah, you know, I actually read a great article about how what metric you decide to pay attention to can have like a huge impact on how you decide to run your business, and that picking some different metrics to focus on could have just profound impacts on the success of your business. And they used Walgreens as a profile for this article, and you know, they were using some metric like they had been using some metric like market share per region or something like that for their stores. And based on that metric, they were not inclined to open too many stores that had overlapping customer ranges, because they were afraid that they would be monopolizing each other's business, or they'd be stealing each other's business. And so that the percentage of, you know, market share per region or something was going to go down. And then the details of this story are probably a little out of whack. But
yeah,
the point is,
as far as Walgreens to Walgreens, not Walgreens to competitors.
Well, it was Walgreens. It was like Walgreens market share to any competitors, including other Walgreens that were in the area.
So the opposite of the McDonald's fast food style metric of let's get in as many places as possible, even if they overlap.
Right. And that's what actually happened to Walgreens was they decided that they wanted to focus on the metric they wanted to focus on was like amount spent per visit by customers. And so then really instead of it being a sort of area sort of thing, they really focused on, once we get them in the door, how can we get them to spend more money? And when they made that shift, they obviously spent a lot more time and energy focusing on how they were selling, what they were selling, and what they were selling inside the store. But it also freed them up to put two Walmarts across, or two Walgreens across the street from each other, as long as they could hit the numbers they were after in terms of how much they were spending when they came through the store. And there were some, basically the article was, you know, obviously showing how they had this great success and their growth curve went way up once they started paying attention to this new metric. But one piece of advice I would give is, when you're starting to decide on your metrics, it would not be a bad idea to try and do some research in your industry. If you can find out what other companies in your industry are doing in terms of metrics, they're probably right. Yeah. If you can find 5 of them and they're all studying the same metrics, they're probably on the right path. You know, I didn't really work at any other design firm before we started building Go Media. I just had a lot of ideas in my head, and I did a lot of stuff that was wrong. And invariably, when I found out what everyone else was doing, most of the time it was right. I do still think that there are little nuggets of a special company culture here because I didn't just follow what everyone else did out of the gate. But I also know that I've wasted a lot of time and money and energy trying to do everything my own way.
Sure.
And I probably could have cut a lot of corners and gotten a lot further faster if I would have just paid attention to what the hell everyone else was doing that was successful. So,
all right. So as you heard, there's a lot of good data that we collected. If you guys are into the idea of collecting metrics, check out the show notes. I'm going to throw some links in there, written by Bill, written by some others about, what we're doing, what others have done as well. But yeah, it's definitely a good way to gauge where you're spending your time, what you're working on. And it's not just like a work-related thing. You can apply this to different portions of your personal life to make sure that you are doing what you want to do, accomplish what you are setting out to accomplish. So, a lot of good stuff. So, I most likely this will be an ongoing conversation over the next year or two with Bill as we continue to devote some more time to collecting these numbers, this data, and then deciding how we're going to move forward from it. All right, so last episode, we closed up with a message basically, saying that tickets were going to be on sale this month and that we needed sponsors. We've got a little bit more information from you, so let's go ahead and talk with Heather Sakai about what's going on. First, tickets are on sale.
Yes, finally. Thank you for waiting patiently again.
Yeah. So what we're doing right now is we have a flying blind ticket level. So it's a bit cheaper than what the early bird will be. It's definitely a lot cheaper than what the general admission will be. So if you're totally hyped like we are, get in now at a good price for a 3-day pass. It's flying blind though because we really haven't announced anything else yet as far as schedule goes, as far as speakers go. We've kind of kept all of that close to ourselves, but that will change on May 4th. May 4th, the official early bird will be on sale, and we're going to be releasing our speakers list, any panels or workshops that we've got planned, as well as our special events, as far as like when Ink Wars is going to be taking place and all that stuff. Hopefully, maybe I don't know how soon we'll know who will be involved in Ink Wars, but that would be pretty cool to have available then too. So we'll have to see what we can do. But yeah, as far as the information that we can release, we're going to release all of it on May 4th. As what we know, as far as what we know. So
the price will jump up though at that point. So you love WMC Fest. You love what's about to happen, and we can guarantee that this year, as we've been telling you, things are going to be incredible, and you're going to want to be there. So so grab your tickets
right now. It's going to be August 7th, 8th, and 9th. Playhouse Square, Allen Theater, downtown Cleveland. So start making your plans and grab tickets. I think $75.
Yep,
$75 for the blind early bird. So that's going to give you full access to what's happening on Friday night, as well as access to the speakers and panels on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, and you're definitely going to want to be there all 3 days. As we've moved the schedule around a little bit this year, Friday night is going to be Ink Wars. So you absolutely need to be there on Friday.
Yeah.
And then, of course, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. We have a keynote speaker on Saturday evening as well as one on Sunday. So there is no part of this fest that you're going to want to try to sneak out of. You're going to want to be there for every waking moment. Yeah, Am I right, Bryan?
Yeah, and hopefully the changes that we did make to the schedule this year will make that more accommodating, because being there from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. or even afterwards, depending on how late you stayed Saturday and Sunday last year. I mean, it's no longer a all day, all night event. We wanted to kind of loosen up the schedule. That way you can take advantage of different things throughout the day and not feel so overwhelmed. or rushed to get home to go back to sleep so that you can wake up and be back there the next morning. So, but also there's going to be a few things that are going to be an additional ticket. We're still working out those details, but I mean, you guys are used to how the workshops are done. So workshops obviously will be a separate ticket. We'll have those the workshops that we'll have available. We're going to start releasing those right around May 4th as well. I think it's the hope, but those probably will be fully released closer to the date of the event. But also we're going to try something a little bit different. So if you're coming in from out of town and aren't used to the area or the businesses that are here, the great creative businesses that are in Cleveland, we're going to do a Cleveland studio tour. I think the plan right now, at least, this is still in the early stages as far as planning, but I think what we're shooting for is noon on Friday to about 4 p.m. On Friday, so that you can ride,
Lolly.
Hopefully, don't necessarily want to release that. Still working on that detail, but we're gonna be able to provide you guys a ride from location to location to just get a tour of not only the different design businesses in Cleveland, but also just to sightsee around town as you drive through. So that's going to be a separate ticketed event. Space will be limited, and space is going to be limited as well for the workshop. So as soon as those announcements are made, definitely hop on. So that's tickets, that's our schedule. Sponsors. So again, our big push right now is funding this thing.
Yes.
So we've been reaching out to sponsors, and it seems like when we talk to potential sponsors, the levels that everyone seems to be gravitating to is the Ink War sponsor, speaker stage, workshop rooms. Just because that's where a lot of everything that's going to be happening as far as the visibility goes. So if you have been thinking about sponsoring WMC Fest, definitely go to WMCFest.com, download the sponsorship PDF, and let's start a conversation. Let's talk about how we can get you involved. And while we do have a PDF of all of the different money amounts that we're looking for, we don't necessarily want to scare away those who can't afford those prices. So there will be some donation options as well. You guys can reach out to us, Heather at WMCFest.com. That information is on the site as well. Just so if you do want to donate, $50, $100, $150. I mean that'll go a long way to helping us really put it to good use to get this fest going.
Poster. Do we want to talk about that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So we have a new designer here at Go Media, and his name is Jordan Wong. And Jordan is actually working on all internal projects here at Go Media. So no client projects for him. We've got him strapped with all sorts of internal stuff, like working on our Arsenal, which is our e-commerce website here at Go Media, as well as all Weapons of Mass Creation Fest design work. So
yeah, and real quick, I mean, just going back to the conversation we had with Bill, he's not being applied to our metrics. He's completely separate.
Yes, no metrics for Jordan. But, so Jordan started, I would say about a month ago, and a couple days into it, we said, Jordan, you are designing all that is WMC Fest this year. And he just got right on it, and we're really
did
excited.
Some great stuff.
Yeah. So we're really thrilled with all that he's accomplished so far, and he created our poster for WMC Fest 6. And by the time that you're listening to this podcast, we will have released it.
Yes.
So you are seeing this brand new poster and print that's going to be available at the fest. and it's pretty sweet. It's a robot Buddha. And
that's a little teaser for you.
Yeah.
I'm thinking next episode we should definitely sit down with Jordan to kind of get his his process as far as like where he came up with the idea of this, and just how everything kind of fell into place. I think that'd be a nice conversation to share. Okay, so posters, schedule. Tickets are now on sale, $75. Flying blind.
Sponsors.
Donations. If you guys, again, the major push right now from us is sponsorships. We want to connect with as many businesses or people who have an assortment of money that they wouldn't mind sharing with the rest of the the WMC community. I think we've made it clear over the last 6 years why this is so important, and this is really something that has taken up a life of its own. So definitely an awesome experience for everyone involved. So
Agreed.
So reach out, let's talk. Okay, that's it. That's our WMC update for this episode. And we'll reconnect again. I think the next time, the next episode will be May 20-ish, thereabouts. So we'll have speakers announced by that point. We'll have some sponsors announced at that point. So you'll start hearing some interviews with speakers and sponsors. Hopefully we'll have that organized by that point. But yeah, a lot of cool stuff to look forward to.
So May 4th was the date that we set out for the next round of information to be released. So again, the blind early bird tickets are on sale right now. They're $75. It's about a 27% off price. May 4th, that price will change to be the early bird special, which will run for the next month or so. But we're going to have a lot more information released, hopefully releasing all of the speaker information, all that stuff. So look forward to that. This is an exciting time for Heather and I. So yeah. All right. So let's talk about some Go Media profiles. I want you to know who I spend my day with. I want you to know who helps make Go Media the entity that it is, the great creative force that is behind Go Media. So every episode we're going to be sitting down with a different member of the Go Media team, just so you can get a little bit of inside of who's working here, what they're doing, what they're excited about, and all that sort of thing. So today we're going to sit down with Carly, who is a member of the design team.
My name is Carly Utegg, and I'm a designer here at Go Media.
All right, so overall, I mean, you're a designer here at Go Media. So where are you in your path? Like, do you feel like this is the type of work that you're going to be doing 5 years from now?
I graduated about 2 years ago now, and I started as an intern here at Go Media. And yeah, I definitely think this is the type of work that I want to be doing. 5 years from now, we get to work on a variety of different things. Branding, web, pretty much anything I could ask for. So,
what's your favorite type of project?
I'd have to say starting with the branding, because a lot of times we get to, start with the brand and then move into the website and print material. So, starting with branding. And
you start with a sketch or a mood board, or what's your normal process?
It varies from project to project. Every client is different, and they need different things to be able to visualize with us. So sometimes we'll start with pencil sketches if that's what it calls for, and sometimes we'll do mood boards. Sometimes neither. Sometimes we'll just write, explanations paired with a few images to kind of get the vibe and that we're going for.
What apps, software, tools that you cannot live without? Work related or non-work related?
I use To-Do a lot. The To-Do app, I like that I can see it on my phone too, and it's pretty quick. Like, I make a change on my computer and I can pull it up at home and see what's on my to-do list. and Toggle. We've been using Toggle a lot here in the office recently in combination with Podio. The clock, the timer feature, I really like that.
So do you have it on like at all times? So you basically, when you start a project, you tell it to start?
Yeah. It's great for meetings, like hit start at my desk and come in here and have a meeting. And then I just have to stop it. Don't think twice about it. I don't have to log the time later.
How do you factor in distractions, people coming over to your desk?
I just try to, do it manually. Like if someone comes and talks to me later, I forgot about that time, I'll just go back and subtract 5-10 minutes and then add it to like a general task.
All right. So overall, I think one of the things that we hear all the time when clients come in to Go Media is just how quiet it is.
Yeah.
Everyone's on their headphones. So what headphones do you use?
Just the Apple headphones,
Earbuds or? Yeah,
the earbuds. I would really like to get a pair of Beats. That's on my list for this year. A few of my friends have a pair, and every time I use them, I'm like, man, I got to get a pair of these, but I just haven't yet.
Do you use the same earbuds at work that you use in the car or at home, or
Yep.
do you have a pair at your desk?
Nope, just the Apple earbuds.
Dogs or cats?
That's a hard one. I absolutely love cats, and I have an awesome cat. But I'm also a dog person, too. I just don't have time for a dog. So I guess I'd have to go cats.
Yeah, cats do have that nicety where you can leave them home all day and not worry, not have an issue. Favorite show growing up?
This is a hard one. I feel like a lot of people have that favorite show that they talk about. I didn't watch a whole lot of cartoons and shows growing up. I spent a lot of my time playing outside and torturing my younger sister. So I don't know if I could pick a favorite.
What about now?
Now, I'm really into the superhero shows.
Sure.
So Arrow. Arrow's one of my favorites. I just started watching Daredevil. That just started. Also very good. Vampire shows. Those kinds of things.
Knowing what you know now, as future you, what would you say to yourself, 2-3 years ago when you were just applying for internships and all that stuff?
Well, I think looking back on my college experience, I realized something which is kind of weird, and it sounds kind of strange, but I don't think I ever experienced stress in my entire life up until I started working. My classmates were always stressed out, staying up late, and I did too, but I had this mentality where I was it's 2:00 in the morning. I still have 6 hours before I have to turn this in, it wasn't, I just never was really stressed out, or what I thought was stress was just glimpses of it now looking back.
Right.
But I knew all my typefaces, I knew what proper kerning looked like. I had it all down, and I could easily present my work in front of my peers in school and not sweat at all. But getting here, the one thing that I didn't necessarily learn in school was how to create those relationships with clients and how to talk to clients, because they're people and they're trusting you to help them solve their problems that they're experiencing in their companies. And so if there was one thing, it would probably be to expect that stress, I guess, or try to realize that it's more than just knowing that foundation of design, and it's about the people that you're working with.
I definitely want to thank Carly for sitting down with us. I know doing a podcast, if you've never done a podcast before, it is kind of nerve-wracking. It's nerve-wracking for me anytime I join another podcast, if I'm a guest. It's a nerve-wracking thing because you want to make sure you say the right thing, especially when you're just doing a short recording. It's nerve-wracking for sure, especially if you've never done before. So I definitely want to thank Carly for taking the time. Again, we're going to be sitting down with the other members of the design team as well as the rest of the staff at Go Media. But that's all the time we have for today. For more information about Go Media and the work we do, you can check out gomedia.com. All of the podcast stuff, including contact information, subscription options, and the full archive is over at gomediapodcast.com.
You can tweet us at go_media, post on our Facebook wall, or send an email to podcast@gomedia.com. You can also follow WMC Fest on Twitter. It's at WMC Fest, both on Twitter and Instagram for all the news and announcements coming out as we continue down the road to this year's event. And as always, you can find me on Twitter at Bryan Garvin. We'll talk again sometime soon. I'm guessing. I'm hoping. Hopefully in May. See you soon.